welcome to another episode of Renter Obsessed, a Knock podcast. I am your host, Sydney Weber, and we have a special Valentine's week episode this week. And our special guest this week is Courtney Lynn. She's actually our trainer here at Knock, and she hosted a class this week on actual Valentine's Day on ways you can communicate with your residents and spread the love all year round. And it prompted this idea. So before I introduce her and start asking questions, I want to give you guys a little insight on what we're doing today. It might be a dumpster fire. I have no idea. It might get loud. It might get crazy. I don't know how well it's going to translate to audio. So hang on tight. But we have a very lofty goal of coming up with 101 ways to spread the love to your residents and prospects in an hour. Luckily, this week we did a multifamily share space competition, and we asked the same question. And so we got, I think, what is it, Meg? Do we have 28 so far?
Yep, we have 28 so far.
And how many do we have to go? Because I don't do math.
Oh,
like 3/4, right?
We have some wins.
Yeah, we've got a quarter done. Ish.
So we're going to try to come up with 80 some more ways to spread the love to your residents and riff off of each other. If you have an idea, spitball it. Meg's going to keep track and see if we can meet our goal. So be prepared. But before we get started, let's talk structure first. So Courtney, can you give us a little bit of background about yourself and your experience before we get into it, so we know why you are the absolute subject matter expert on this topic?
I don't know if I'm the absolute, but I think I know a little something. I started in leasing in 2003. Came from the world of sales and marketing with Coca-Cola, where I did a lot of events and promotions. And I felt like it translated well into selling apartments because you were just creating this experience. You wanted people to love your building, ultimately love you. And for the past almost 2 decades, I've been just still in love with leasing. I refused to ever go the management track. I just kind of stayed in the world of sales and marketing. So I've held a lot of different titles, from leasing manager to marketing director to sales and marketing director. And then in the most recent years, I ended up in training to teach people to do all the things that I had been doing. And that's how I ended up here at Knock, because I felt like Knock was just an amazing tool to be able to honestly spread the love and just be a really awesome leasing person. So it kind of tied everything together.
Amazing. So first of all, what do we need? There's a lot of ideas that we will have here today that can be implemented for free. But before we get started, just spitballing ideas, let's talk a little bit about budgeting resources so you can actually spread the love. So most of us on site or in property management companies, we have a set aside budget for resident events. We have a set aside budget for moving gifts typically. But how would you approach a full year of spreading the love when it comes to budgeting?
That was one of the biggest challenges that we had just at the community level, right? And trying to convince the powers that be to make sure that we had budget to do all the things we did. So we start getting creative, right? You extend your community outside the walls to the neighborhood, and you see what can be potentially sponsored. And then just thinking about all the things that you can really do for free. Our Spread the Love webinar this week was a perfect example of just old school Valentines, right? It doesn't take me any time to use a free app to create super cute, punny Valentines and then share them. I don't have to go out and buy store-bought ones or have them professionally printed when we're in a digital era. So starting to get creative with what you can do, virtually, what you can do with little to no money, what you can get sponsored. And, when you are in property management, you have this constant flow of a captive audience, right? So for any vendor partner out there, whether it be the pizza place, we had a great partnership with Chipotle down the road when Chipotle first started. That's how old I am. Those are the things that we did. We're like, oh my gosh, this is a new kind of eating style with this Chipotle come in, fill your own burrito craziness. Well, I've got 300 people who will probably try that at least once. Like, do you want to put a free coupon in our move-in gifts, right? Or do we want to have that day? And just kind of finding those opportunities to surprise and delight. We talked about this, Sydney, like, just surprise people with something that they wouldn't expect.
Yeah. So that's a really good context for us as we're thinking of ideas like bonus points if you can get them for free or for trade. So also beyond budget and beyond like being resourceful, we have a lot on our plates. On site, there's so much going on. If you're in a marketing role or a training role or any sort of corporate role, like you're managing so many moving parts at your property. How do you build operationally? How do you build surprise and delight programs that are, or framework that's scalable for your portfolio or for your community?
I think one great way to do it is to get the buy-in from your residents and allow them to have part ownership in some of the things that you do. They're going to listen to their neighbors typically and attend things when it comes from them, even more so when it just comes from the office. So kind of giving people bonus points for hosting or kind of being the coordinator of your Super Bowl party, or if somebody really loves St. Patrick's Day and that's their jam, like letting them come up with the idea of like what makes the most sense of being able to do this. And sometimes it'll just take on a life of its own. If you foster that type of communication and environment, and really remember the fact that there's a reason why some companies choose to use the word community versus property. Like, we're not just buildings, we're not just four walls. We are the biggest check that people write every month, and it's the place they call home. So we should be building a sense of community. If people want to be a part of the community actively, that's going to be on them. But the more fun and inviting you make it, the more the chances are that they're going to participate.
Make the residents do the work. That's what Ben over there does at Rent Grata, right? Make the residents sell for you.
my ears perked up. That was such an interesting idea. Like, if you're encouraging residents to kind of like, I don't know, be the voice, attract people to some event at the community. What it kind of made me think of is, what if it's done at the individual unit level, right? Like, the first thing we think of when someone says they're gonna throw a party in their unit is like, oh no, like, is this gonna create like a noise issue? But in reality, they're attracting their peers who likely live somewhere else, potentially at one of your competitors' communities, and they're bringing them over. They're showing off their unit, community overall. Just seems like an easy way to get their network peers kind of in community, right? You're walking them through the door and kind of doing most of the work in that sense.
Yeah. If these resident events could be tied to referrals or driving more traffic to your community, that's just another thing that you can implement that can help you save on your marketing spend long term. Okay. Ben kicked it off with the house party. Are you guys ready to go and ready to start throwing out
Rapid
ideas?
fire.
All right, Courtney, you start, say one, and then we'll just keep going.
Well, I'm always a big fan of a pajama party, anything where it's come as you are. So one of my favorite things that we did was like, pajamas and Prosecco. I think it was like bubbles, so come down on a Sunday, grab your little glass of Prosecco in your pajamas, turn it into a little social media contest. But anything that involves pajamas, like any jammy jam, I'm about it.
I love both of those alliterations. So those are definitely name ideas too.
I'm going to throw out one. Alliteration. I do love alliteration.
Bring in so I just started taking swing dance lessons. I used to ballroom dance. Bring in a ballroom dance teacher to your community room, or if you have a gym with an open floor, have a swing dance night.
I mean, I could rattle off events for days.
Go for it.
For those of you who don't know, I the events manager at Knock, and I mean, you could really do. I love the idea of incentivizing your residents to, if they want to kind of take on leadership of owning a party, I love that, like, take $50 off your rent if like you want to host this and like help us with this. But you could do it for really any holiday, or just do I've seen a lot of communities do just every month they have one wine Wednesday, and it really encourages their residents just to come down, mingle. You have a little bit of wine, a little bit of snacks, and then throw on a movie or like a sports game, and they really enjoy that, and you get to know your community better. But really any holiday. But I also thought, like, speaking of holidays, what if there was a like a fun gift wrapping party for Christmas or any kind of holiday, or complimentary gift wrapping for any holiday that is happening. Like, that would be kind of a fun out of the box idea.
Love
It's
that.
funny you
We
said that,
actually-
Allison. I was going to say, I saw a community that had a gift wrapping station, and
Yeah,
they
that's what we did.
stocked paper depending on the time of the year. Never had seen that as an amenity at a community before, but I'm like, a very inexpensive way to add a cool amenity, just a
Yeah.
gift wrapping station.
Yeah. And you know, National Donut Day, National Mac and Cheese. There's every day has a national day or several. And, you know, within budget, picking out the ones that you think will be the most popular and engaging them that way.
Yes, Katie said build your own bouquet for Valentine's Day. That is a really good one, because a lot of people forget to buy those and they get sold out, or they're like flowers on Valentine's Day. And making it a station where you can go make it your own. You can even have like a bunch of those cheap paper Valentines all spread out on the table, and you can go fill those out and attach a piece of candy to it. I love that, Katie.
We did a pop-up before Valentine's Day. The week before Valentine's Day, we brought in a local florist and a jeweler to set up a pop-up shop in the leasing office, and had residents come, and they got a special discount the week before Valentine's Day in preparation for the holiday. At a different property, we had a local florist that has a truck, has this cute like 1950s flatbed truck that they do flower arrangements out of. And so we had them on property, and residents could come down and build their own bouquet. Allison, I'm a huge fan of the day calendar of the fun. So I'm the events manager for Southern Land Company. So I do all of our resident events across all of our properties. And we have a monthly calendar that we literally go through every day and match up what works for we did a mashed potato bar, National Mac and Cheese Day. So we're always doing kind of fun things like that. One thing that was a really big hit for Father's Day, instead of doing a card or what have you, we had cards available at the concierge desk that people could come down and grab one. But we also ordered bulk packs of socks, of fun socks, and every dad resident got to come and grab a pair of their personality socks. So that was a big hit.
That's so cute. And speaking
Love
of
that.
just going back to the, national days, I love the idea, Courtney, you mentioned partnering with local restaurants or shops or whatever. And so say it's National Taco Day, you go to the closest and best taco shop and say, if we'll give these coupons to our residents if you come and, have like a taco truck on this day, and like, leveraging that partnership and making it budget friendly for both sides.
There are some things happening in the chat right now about a pet kissing booth, and I'm here for that. Can you imagine if your property had like everybody has a resident that brings their dog in for a treat like on the daily, and that becomes kind of like the mascot of the community? Can you imagine getting that dog and setting up like a Charlie Brown style like kissing booth for the day? If anyone's having a bad day, they can just come in and give this mascot a treat and a kiss and take a picture. I love that. And also somebody said photo booths too. Like we've talked in previous episodes, I think you brought it up last time, Courtney, like creating Instagrammable moments at your community. And a lot of people are doing this with their new builds. They have a mural, or they have what you said, a seesaw on the roof, for just like really cool experiences. And they don't have to cost a lot to do, and you can work with local artists. And then being able to tie your like resident surprise and delight or moments or things that engage them with social media competitions and start to generate that, what we've talked about in the past, that renter generated content. And then you get them to tag your community. And then all the new people that are trying to like figure out where they want to live, they go to your Instagrams, tag photos, and they see you're not just creating great experiences for your residents, but you're doing it for all your future residents to see. Another thing, if you're doing events, always invite prospects. Use that as a follow. If you're doing like, I don't know, we used to do 7 follow-ups per prospect. And sometimes it's hard to think about new things to say to them. And so send them an invite to that event. Maybe it's a virtual event and you can do it for your entire portfolio and all of your prospects. I mean, get your money's worth if you're going to invest in some of that resident retention stuff.
We did that with sporting events. Sports bring people and cities together. So if you get in touch with your local sports teams, especially like minor league teams, like the D League basketball or like minor league baseball, minor league hockey, if you have minor league teams, it's a little more affordable, but you partner with them and you get like bulk rates on tickets. Usually you can resell them to your residents, but then we would give them to prospects, right? So then when we all would go to the game together, it would be like prospects and residents mingling together, kind of going back to what Ben was saying. It's like, here's part of the experience, like here's some of the people that are going to be your neighbors. And so you kind of offset the cost. Some of it's ROI, some of it's just getting discounts for your residents. Again, it's not always about footing the bill. It's just creating the opportunities and creating that sense of community. And you can do the same thing if you want to add to the list, Meg, over there. It's like you can do that for opera. You can do that for the symphony. One of my residents one time was the conductor of our local city, and she hooked it up and gave shout outs and all the good things. You can do it for, concerts, anything you can think of that you can get in bulk tickets where we can you can get a discount in bulk, then offer it and try to create that calendar again of things that people can participate in.
You know who was posting on LinkedIn the other day, the founder of Flamingo? That resident engagement app, he was posting about when you're thinking about resident retention and events, sometimes we forget about offsite events. You're exactly right. It's about building community, right? And it's about making when your residents, like Ben said, when your residents know each other and are friends with each other, they're more likely to stay. When I lived in my first apartment with my husband, we lived there for like 4 years, and he had this group of people that he met there, and they all had garages next to each other, and they all like tinker in their garage with their beat down cars that didn't run, and they'd hang out and they'd drink beers and they'd work on their cars that didn't run, and they called it Garage Gang Thursdays, and they'd meet every Thursday. And I was like, he's like, I can't, I'm busy on Thursday and I got Garage Gang Thursdays. And so like something like that is sponsored by the community, and like maybe it's a tailgate event, everyone who has a garage, maybe it's an estate sale or like a yard sale for the whole community where people barter and trade stuff from their garage.
I had a community, a lease up in downtown Baltimore on the water in an area called Fells Point, where everything was pretty much walkable, like all of the bars. And we would designate bar takeovers where it was like the community name was Crescent. We'd be like, Crescent's hitting, the pub. And everybody would be like, we're going to be there at 7. You just go and there, you just see all of your neighbors there. Again, nothing's really paid for. It was just the fact that like we could all just say, we're going to walk there and we're all going to stumble home. And you just have your own little takeover, but you can do that again, like for restaurants or outdoor fairs. The farmers market, trips to the farmers market are really cool. If you partner with any companies that have the ability to have apps at your community, we used one called Mobile Doorman. And what was really fun is like, let's say there is a farmer's market in your area, set it up where maybe somebody who's out of town can ask a neighbor like, hey, can you pick things up for me? So creating those moments of like sharing is caring, like, hey guys, I'm going here. Especially if you're in an urban environment where people don't have cars, it's nice to be able to offer up complimentary-ish services as just doing a kindness for a neighbor.
Love that.
Another great thing, low budget thing that's worked well for us is utilizing your in-house talent. So we have residents that have all kinds of side hustles or talent. So we had a resident chef that lived in one of our buildings. We have that used to do virtual cooking classes for the residents for a rent concession. We just recently have a golf pro move into one of our properties, and he is now doing a monthly golf uncorked event where he pairs a blind wine pairing tasting with golf, and the similarities of how you speak about grapes to how you speak about the game of golf. And so it's taking the intimidation out of a really intimidating topic, wine and golf, especially when you're dealing with like high-end luxury residences. So, and then musicians, artists, we have an artist in our building that's sponsoring an art show for our Wine Down Wednesday, and she's offering a discount to residents who come to that event. So utilizing your in-house talent is another great way to maximize budget.
And it allows your residents to get access to all these customers and really supports their small local businesses. I love that idea. I mean, you could even have a little in your community room, you could have like a night market, kind of a bring your goods that if you sell candles or if you make jewelry, you can create up a little pop-up shop experience. We did that. It was not a small event. It was a grand opening for a new building. And we did this thing called the Taste of Selwood, which is where the building was located. And I invited maybe 10 to 15 different food and small businesses to the event. And they all got like little pop-up tents. They would sell, one of them was an antique shop. One of them was a jewelry maker. One of them did slices of pizza. One of them did wine in a can, and you could just walk around and taste your entire neighborhood in one evening in a courtyard of a community. I mean, that's definitely a much larger scale event, but the more people feel ingrained in their community and make and build those relationships, the more likely they will be to stick around.
Yeah, I think, hitting people in the places that they love, we had come up before. Pets are huge. I think when yappy hours became a thing, those were really popular because really it's the humans mingling, but the dogs get like a break. And that's when we discovered all of the fun, wine for dogs and cookies for dogs and all of the things, right? But then taking that to the next level, people hate having to take their dog to get groomed. So finding maybe a mobile groomer, hosting it the first time, then they get discounts later when they would come on a schedule and they would build up a clientele. A lot of those types of apartment partners are looking to be able to do like a one-stop fill their schedule type thing. So if you can become one of the exclusive communities for like a groomer or a mobile car wash or whatnot, if you have enough to sustain their business, then you can use it actually as part of your amenities and your sales pitch, like a featured community of like this person or whatever. So services are always huge. I think I told Sydney, one of my high-rise buildings, every year we'd have like a week of resident appreciation events, and a huge one that was shoe repair, like being able to bring down a couple pairs of shoes to get them cleaned and repaired, as and we budgeted for it and we knew what it was based on the building, but people would come down with their bags of shoes, and in 2 days their shoes would be back all pretty and nice for them. But it's the things that we don't like to do, right, that we don't want to think about. Another thing is during the holidays, especially when your package rooms get full, if you don't have package lockers and you're still old school, getting people to sign a waiver and just delivering the packages for them. Like, instead of harassing them to come by and pick them up, have somebody, maintenance guys usually, our maintenance team members, deliver them. And shout out to maintenance always. Like, service team members are always our heroes. We've done everything from them having like just walk door to door with their toolkit and just check in. A lot of times people will let things go in their apartment forever. And we started a trend at one of our garden communities where they would just go door to door. They would come in late that day and work into the evening. Just be like, hey, do you need a light bulb? Do you need this? I'm like, oh, you know what? Yeah, actually the light bulb in my bathroom's been out like forever. And it's just one of those things where they just let it go because they're like, I don't want to take the time to put in a service ticket. So being proactive and soliciting, like, what do you need? Like, what can we do? Helps a lot.
I love that. When you were saying that, I was thinking like, gosh, when I lived in an apartment, I didn't know how to do anything. Can you imagine hosting like learning days with maintenance technicians are
Mhm.
so talented. They have the most diverse skill set. They truly can do it all. And to like simple things that maybe they get a lot of maintenance tickets on, and that could be easily done on your own at home, maybe little tutorials on that. I mean, they could even make YouTube videos.
Yes.
I thought, piggybacking off of learning days, I was thinking about, well, what if the community brings in like one specialist speaker a month, whether it's about maintenance or about like taxes or about future planning, just anything, just learning opportunities, you know what I mean? Because a lot of people don't know a lot of those things. I would, as a renter myself, I would love that opportunity to be able to just sit in a little panel and learn.
Yeah.
It sounds a little counterintuitive, so take it as you will, but I think a lot of people choose to rent forever, and that's the lifestyle, or that's what they have access to. But a lot of people are renting in transition to buy a home. And I know we're trying to keep our residents, but we're also trying to provide excellent service for our residents. So maybe having someone like an advisor come in, and you can schedule 10-minute appointments, or someone that can give a webinar on like financial planning if you're ever in like ready to buy a home, and just like really help our residents get to the next level in their lives where they want to be. And then maybe say, and when you do move out, help us fill your apartment and we'll do XYZ for you or something.
Yeah. Another fun thing to do to tie to some of those days that you were talking about is think about ways of giving back and allowing that to be something. We would do like on Adopt a Dog Day or like Adopt a Cat Day. If someone went and adopted a pet, we would waive the pet fees for that particular, if they brought proof that they did that. We also would host adoption days, like where if you have a courtyard or a pet park where people can bring puppies or dogs that need to be adopted. And again, it tied to, if you choose to adopt today, we'll waive your deposit, for the pet, because sometimes that's the pushback. Along those same lines, if you have really great community spaces, loaning those out complimentary to people in the area, whether it be like, the American Cancer Society or, a Girl Scout troop to sell, Girl Scout cookies, not always worrying about the profit of renting out your common space, but really leaning into giving that space back. And again, twofold if a resident's involved with it in some way.
Host polling stations. Katie, that is such a good idea.
Blood drives.
Blood drives. Yeah. There's our mobile vet. If you go back to animals too, I think that we're constantly trying to think of ways that we can do better. I know my last company was like that, and Knock is certainly like that. And if you can tie your resident events to something that can impact your community, like we would do school supply drives, or we all do like the Toys for Tots and those type of drives. But maybe there's a store in Portland called the Lemonade Store, something like that. And basically it's a free store for anyone in the foster system. So they can go there and they can take whatever they want. It's free. Like the sports teams will donate, like overflow shoes and jerseys, and people donate anything and they can go in and shop for free. And maybe if you have a portfolio where that maybe some of your residents are struggling, having a station where it's like a free store for school supplies or something like that.
One idea that you could do is have when a resident is moving out or moving in, you do a lot of purging, and you could offer as a service to take any of their donations. If they pack it up and drop it off at the office, then you could donate it for them to a local charity or local organization, because people tend to want to do it and just don't have the time or the patience or what have you. So that could be a really unique service that was a differentiator. The other thing too is just organizing a group to go off site and do a volunteer thing, whether it was Habitat or, a local shelter. A lot of times people want to do it. They just don't take the time or initiative to organize it. But if your on-site team organizes it, then they can go out in the community together.
Yeah. And thinking about going out into the community together, as we're building, as we're thinking about branding our company or branding the individual communities, one thing at Move In you can offer to all your residents is here's this, we have this internal group. We called ours Templeton Cares at our last community. That's a pretty common name. Like have your outreach group, whatever it is, branded as something special, like they're part of something, and say, what's your size? Here, we want to give you a shirt and a hoodie. This is our like club that we wear these whenever we go out and go to sports games together, or if we go volunteer for Habitat together, we all wear these outfits, and it makes it easier to know who's part of your group if you're new, and it also is fun for just like pictures and stuff and feeling like you're part of something.
Get into some free things that we can do. We would put everyone's birthdays into a calendar to give them some birthday love. Again, this is something that was budgeted, but a signed birthday card from everybody on the team, or a little treat or something. But in this day and age, especially when everything is digitized, to actually put a card into the mail with a stamp, not just put it on their door, or to actually place phone calls and have the office sing would be really cool. I've actually started doing that here at Knock, and Sydney and Caitlin, look out for it. But like when it's
my
someone's
birthday's
birthday,
next week.
I send them video messages of me singing happy birthday. Sometimes I'm in key, sometimes I'm not, but I send it like via Slack. But we can do the same thing. A lot of people have videos, like send a video. I mean, you can send the same video unless it's, two people in an apartment, but you go ahead and you record a video of like your whole team singing happy birthday and you send it. I mean, we all know we get our inbox filled from every vendor out there, from Southwest to, H&M when it's your birthday. So why not join in on the party? We actually say their names. So any sort of like, kind of showing love like that, I think is always super cool. Also creating community spaces, whether that be a community garden. We've done like community paint areas where we could do that. I recently heard someone say that they had Nicole, was it you? I feel like Nicole is on this call. Someone was saying that they had they had an empty space, like an empty room in their garage, and they turned it into a DIY room where people could go, like if you had a dresser that you rescued from, Salvation Army and you wanted to paint it, like living in an apartment, you never know where to do that stuff. And you're always worried you're going to get in trouble. Like create a space where people can DIY. Was that you, Nicole?
Yeah, it was me.
See, I give credit. I know it was
Thank you.
Nicole, you've been quiet. Tell us some of your things.
I have been driving. I just got home, so that's why I've been quiet.
Okay.
But back in the day when I worked for Village Green, we actually had, not at every community, but at some of the communities, we had what we called, and I'm totally blanking now, but it was like social activity directors. And they were residents that would get a small discount. I want to say it was like a $250 concession monthly off their rent. And then they would plan the resident events, which was really nice for the on-site team because, as we all know, there's a lot to do when you're on site. And so having that piece taken off the plate was really helpful.
Love that. And I think that things have changed. We've talked about this a million times. Things have changed so much over the last 2 years. My home has become my office too. I am like looking for things to go do outside of my house. And if you can create experiences now, I feel like they're probably going to be better attended. I mean, now if people are comfortable getting out there and like they're, as things are settling down nationally, but we're hungry for connection and for experiences and for hobbies. If like I'm looking at you on my computer all day and then I'm gonna like look at my TV all night, like there's got to be more. We want more and more community, and it's a time where people can feel really lonely. So this is really impactful. And also like people love event planning. I mean, look at Allie's made a whole career out of it. Carly's made a whole career out of it. I'm sure there's a lot of residents that this is something that they love and they don't get that outlet in their day job. So really empowering them to feel part of something is really special.
And just speaking to that, Sydney, is as we kind of return to conferences, we're seeing more and more people attend just because of that. Things are getting a little bit safer. B, people are yearning for physical connection. I want to see your face in person. I want to, grab a beer with you in person. And so as with communities, I hope that also increases. I wrote down a couple ideas that I don't want to forget about too. Courtney, I was going to say birthdays. That's killer. I think as a resident, I would really appreciate that. I know it can get kind of volume crazy just based on how large the community is, but if you have a system in place, I think that's such a cute little touch and super important. Also, one that might get cray is for communities who are more into like having people who have families. If there's a community that's got a lot of kids in it, have a babysitting night, like create a little space outside or space indoors, just based on whatever's available, and say, hey, it's date night for the parents. We're offering babysitting from 7 to 9. That might be a cute idea. And mom and dad can go get a nice dinner while whoever washes the children. And then a movie night. I mean, that sounds so obvious, but it's so easy. You get a projector, if you have a lawn, encourage people to bring, their blankets, a picnic. That's something that I know I live in San Diego, so I see movie nights all along the beach, just people throwing them by themselves, and people always attend. And that's just something fun and easy for engagement for your communities.
Allie, you gave me an idea when you said babysitting night. There are lots of companies where you can hire a Disney princess.
Yep.
Can you imagine if you hired a Disney princess or two?
Crazy.
To go to that babysitting night?
Yeah, that would be killer. And, I used to do this at, with a previous job. We would do that for our kids, and we would just face painting, or, you print out little color sheets and you have crayons and stuff. There's so many easy and cheap activities to entertain the children while mom and dad go have fun. And then a progressive dinner would be cool for properties that have multiple buildings. In the common room of one building, you start with appetizers. In the common room of another building, you have your second course, and then a dinner or your dessert at a different course. So either, potlucks or progressive dinners are always a super fun idea. Book club, that's easy. You promote a book club, you pick a book, everybody brings BYOB kind of and bring their own snacks, or if you have the budget, promote that. And then lastly on my list, I've been like writing down so many ideas. Sorry, guys.
Get us to 101.
Open mic nights are kind of a fun idea. It doesn't strictly have to be for singing or anything. Just kind of, a free for all open mic night, whether it's somebody wants to sing or read a poetry or read an article or do whatever. Just encouraging people to get creative and just socialize.
Meg, do you want to say out loud what number we're at?
Yeah, we're at 89 already.
We're so close. We have 20 minutes left. Let's just say more. I love this.
So I had a few that I wanted to throw in there too, but I also kind of wanted to point out that like introverts got to thrive the last couple of years because they got to participate in so many things virtually without being there in person. So something that we've kind of implemented is, even though we're having in-person events now, we're still live streaming them so people can participate. Or if we do like a spa night where we'll invite some of the local students that are learning to get their license for like hair and nails, they'll come in and get some hours and do hair and nails in our apartment or in our clubhouses. But then we'll also send like a little spa package to the door so that the people who don't want to come can still participate.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thinking about your resident engagement from an accessibility perspective and an inclusion perspective. That's brilliant. I love it.
Yeah. Like
having variations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One thing I forgot that I had told Sydney about is also just before they even arrive. So we talked a little bit about moving gifts, but again, things that don't cost a lot, like printing labels with their new address on them to give them so that they can send them to people, I think is always a great idea. We also would do kind of like a nurture campaign, just going back to that old school countdowns of like, okay, it's like 1 month till you move in, and like having that like, yay, we can't wait. type message that goes out, and then it's like 2 weeks, did you like change your utilities? Like, we can't wait for you to get here. And just creating that excitement. Doesn't cost really anything. I kind of envision, I'm a Southwest fan, like when you walk down the Southwest like what are those things called, gangways, whatever,
Gateway?
gate, down
Yeah.
the gate, and like they have those photos of people that are like, we're so glad you're like flying, like having those images of like each person on their team, like even if it's just an intro and a little bio of like, hey, I'm here to help you do this or whatnot. Those type of things like kind of go a long way of creating, relationships. And it's kind of the same thing when you think about your resident events. It's nice when like one person on the team can like host it and own it and say like why they want to do it and kind of build that relationship with their prospects. It goes back to like getting to know people beyond just the work relationship. I saw some cool things come in the chat there.
No, we're going to make our ultimate list of
books.
our 101 things on our blog. So don't worry, watch out for that if you
So
didn't
good.
write all the notes down. One of my favorite, I love when people have garden style communities and they do golf cart parades. I love golf cart parades. They or like they turn their golf cart into an ice cream truck and they go and they like blast the music. On the Share Space Facebook group, some people posted pictures of their decorated golf carts.
That's
It's very
awesome.
cute.
Love decorated balconies too. Like balcony
Yes.
decoration contests are super fun. Gives people, because a lot of times we just tell them what they can't put on their balcony.
Yeah.
So
fitness clubs, running clubs, book swaps. Also, I love when residents can get together and create something. Like if everybody, we did this internally at Knock, but submit a recipe that's a family recipe that's part of your heritage or something that you're just really good at and you really love, and then create a recipe book that is your community's recipe book. And you can even have it printed and make it part of your move-in gift. Like these are recipes that all of your neighbors came up with. Maybe they even submit a little bio and a picture of them. And so you can see who they are. So when you see them, like, oh my God, I loved your empanada recipe. I totally tried it when I moved in. It's just a good way to connect.
That's an awesome idea.
I would think it'd be fun in the summer to do you guys remember carnivals with the rubber duck that you like pulled to see if it was like the lucky duck? You could do like rubber duck races in the pool in the summer, or have like fill the pool with rubber ducks and then like some of them had prizes and everybody could go grab. So that's like kind of a fun. And then one thing I've always wanted to do, whether I've lived in apartments or now working in them, is a tour of homes. So you have this same floor plan as all these other people in your building, and everybody's personalities are so different and so quirky. And so as you meet people and you go see their houses, you have like this preconceived notion of what their space looks like. And you could have people volunteer their homes and you could take a little tour and see how the same floor plan looks different from personality to personality.
I love that, like a full open house night.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love looking
you
at
can
people's
also
houses.
You could also take people's traditions too and do things like around the holiday time, like doing luminaries where they get to write the name of someone that they're like recognizing. You can do the same thing with like lanterns and send them off from your property and make it look like the Tangled movie, and let people like send up their wishes, like maybe like once a year or something. But just some of those fun like experiences, like come out, hang for a little bit, like do this or leave your mark. New communities, especially, it's fun when people can like write their name in a brick. Like sometimes we'll do things where they can put like their little handprints or footprints or things like that.
I honestly did not think this would happen. We were fully prepared to have a long list that said 101 things. And at the bottom, it would say, oh, we didn't get there, but you should submit your own. We've passed 101. We've passed 101 ideas. So this is so fun. I mean, there are truly endless ways that you can spread the love to your residents. And there's so many ways that you can do it for absolutely no cost. There's so many ways that you can do it where you uplift someone else's passion and get them involved and make them feel like they're part of something and part of your team. I mean, we've talked about having your residents, we've talked about the flywheel method of marketing on past episodes. And the idea is creating a momentum, having your customer be at the center of your marketing strategy, and then everything else from there. Focus wholeheartedly on your customer and give them the best possible experience, give them all the tools to promote your brand for you, and use the momentum of your happy customer to bring in more customers. And I think that all the things that we talked about here today are really good ways to get started on that flywheel method of marketing. And we all talk about this all the time, like customer experience is at the center of your strategy, and like people at conferences, and like resident experience is a huge topic. But what I loved about today is we didn't get the bird's eye view of like, these are all the processes that you should put into place. We gave you things today that you can actually implement tomorrow. And that's one of the things that I always love about these renter obsessed conversations is I hope that everyone in this group, and I hope that everyone listening in the land of podcasts got one idea that they're like, I think I can run with that. I think my residents would like that. And that would make me super happy if you found one thing. And if you did hear one thing or more that you liked today, post about it on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, wherever, and tag us so we know that it's getting out there and it's making an impact. So I'm going to wrap this sucker up. Courtney, do you have any final words for the group today?
I think the biggest thing is that the same way we just spitballed in, an hour, your company, your community could sit down at the end of the year to plan for the next year, what you want to do. And to Nicole's point, it's not just the burden of one person. You don't have to have an amazing, Allison or Carly on your team, like an events manager. There are people out there that could be their hidden talent. There are residents that could be that hidden talent. Think outside the box and open yourself up to let the people who want to do it own it and do it. Right? Like you can have those conversations and figure it out, because the more creative and the more that you're looking at the end result, which is ultimately to spread the love, right? This is not necessarily, yes, it's great if we get somebody to move in because their friend heard about it, but really it's about creating that sense of community, coming back to why we do what we do in the multifamily space. Like we're creating homes and community for people. So like make it a great experience, like you said, Sydney.
Beautifully said. I love that. Thank you, Courtney. And thank you all for being here live. And thank you all for listening to this podcast. If you could do us a huge favor and spread the love right back, your feedback makes us stronger. We're a new podcast. We're growing. I think this is only episode 9, and we have a long way to go. I want to record hundreds of episodes and meet hundreds of amazing people with brilliant minds on topics that matter to us in this industry. So all I ask for you is to maybe tell one friend, maybe go onto your podcast app and leave a rating or a review. It doesn't, like I say, it doesn't have to be a good review, just an honest review, and help us spread the word, because the more people we can bring into our community, the more we can learn from each other and have these great relationships as we do finally get back to the in-person events. So tell a friend. We're not just a podcast and a live event, we're also a Slack community. So if you want to get on there and chat with us, chat with the people that you meet here today at any time, we'll get you that link. Just head over to our website and check out our podcast page, or you can go to the link in the show notes. Thank you. Thank you all so much for being here. And it's so wonderful to see the new faces, and we'll see you next Thursday. Bye.